the resources that we get from mining very well as a country to develop our country. But if we are to achieve the goals of Vision 2036, and if we are to be a high-income country, then we gotta change the way we do things. And the mining industry itself, we gotta change the way we do things. We are saying the industry is bringing technology, is bringing digitization. Some of our traditional assets are aging. Some of our mines are going underground. The pits are getting deeper. So that calls for innovative interventions in terms of how is the mining industry, or in particular, how our country is going to stay above the game. Because production costs are going to go high, and how are we going to make sure that we get the maximum margins out of this? We're going to need to introduce technology. We're going to need to take advantage of technological advancement, and that's why we have termed this summit the Future of Mining Summit, because the mining is forever evolving, like the theme says. You would remember that in 2016 we've had the closure of some mines that some kind of like failed to adapt in terms of as the commodity prices changed. So we're saying, how do we stay above the game? How do we continue to be a global benchmark? How do we continue to be a darling in terms of investment jurisdictions? How do we continue to have investors putting in their money to ensure that we continue to extract these resources and benefit our communities?
Now, we understand like what you're saying, that the future of mining is really smart mining, and that speaks to issues around safety, efficiency, and many others, like what you're saying now. I'm curious to find out, being the project manager, particularly that your initiative is supported by Botswana Chamber of Mines, where we are as far as technology and deploying technology within our mines, and what the trends are as far as those are concerned.
We are somewhere, and a number of our mines are introducing this. I'll just give you an example, that Kwemakau, which recently got acquired by MMG Limited. It's a fully automated mine. If you go back to BCL, which ended up closing, it was a traditional conventional mining. So Kwemakau is going underground, but it's a fully automated mine. It's taking care of technology. But we are saying the technologies themselves, they're evolving, they're moving with times. That's why we gotta have some sort of a converging point to discuss this and leverage on some opportunities that are in the horizon.
Okay, perhaps now let's just talk about the summit itself. We understand the background to that. Let's just talk about what then would be some of the focus area, and what are the expectations from some of your stakeholders ought to be.
Yes, so the number one focus area, like we've been discussing, is technology. And we're saying, when we speak about technology, there are also a key issue of future skills. That means even in our academic institutions, we're going to need to change our curriculum and start teaching digitization, smart mining. Then we're also going to focus on ESG, which involves environment, social and governance, to say our mining operation is going to take care of the environment. We're going to also focus on renewable energy, to say, to reduce the carbon footprint of our operations, to make sure that we protect the natural world and protect planet Earth. We're also going to be talking about a very key important issue of value chain development. You know, that is one of our strategic focus as a country, to say, how do we make sure now that we create value, that we don't just mine this and export concentrates? What are the beneficiation opportunities that we can set up here to make sure that we create jobs? We're also going to be talking to access to financing. This is a very critical issue that speaks to the capital in terms of setting up all this transition in some of the mining projects from exploration to operation. Even in talk of value chain itself, it's going to need to be financed. So we will bring in different stakeholders from fund institutions. As you've noticed that when we launched this, we launched it in partnership with Stanbic Bank, which is our banking partner.
Okay, I'm just curious to find out this particular summit. You talk about financing institutions and some other key industries. Obviously, the mining giants would be there, but other than the mining companies that we know of, who else is participating in the summit? Is it just closed to the mining people, or any organization, any entity can come? Like we're talking about challenges and opportunities. Who else can come to the summit?
It cannot be close to just mining companies, because mining itself is broad. There are financiers involved, there are academic institutions involved that produce the human capital. there are insurance companies that insure these huge trucks to make sure that you manage the risks. So just before I went into the interview, we had a confirmation, if I may highlight, from the Vice President of Global Mining Finance from Standard Bank, which is parent company of Stanbic. And we're also going to have a participant from Old Mutual, which is a leading insurance company that insures this. And then academic institution as well. BUST, for example, is leading in terms of producing engineers and science. So we're going to have a broad discussions about all these different stakeholders who are involved in the success of the mining industry.
Okay, I think let's still sticking with that, particularly from a value chain perspective. Mining is something that we talk about, but we don't necessarily understand. We just know that there's diamonds coming, there's coal coming, there's oil coming, and gold coming. I'm talking from perhaps from a small, medium enterprise perspective. I'm talking from an inclusion perspective, as in, could be women, could be marginalized women. What are we looking at as far as that is concerned?
Yes, I will take you to one of our panel discussions, which is titled Leveraging on Mining Value Chains, Mining Synergies, Procurement Power, and Development of Value Chains. There, we are saying there is a lot of money that goes into the operationalization of these mines. So there is, if you talk of women or marginalized, I'll take an example of Kwemakau, for example, where funds are invested. So we are saying the people who stay there, they're going to need some laundry services, they're going to need food. So at the level of SMME. So we want to really discuss this and come up with a framework to say how are we going to make sure that the local communities are involved, the marginalized groups around the mining operations are involved to make sure that they benefit. That's the starting point of value chains. Value chains, we shouldn't think about it at a high capital intensive level of huge operations. So we must start it from the low levels of economy to make sure that everybody benefits from my mining industry.
Okay, I just want to find out as well, you mentioned Old Mutual participating, you mentioned from an insurance risk management perspective, and you mentioned obviously Stanbic or Standard Bank Group from a financier perspective. But other than those, and of course BCM and in the Ministry of Minerals and Energy, who else, and you mentioned the academia as well, who else would be there from a presentation perspective? Who else would be there, and what sort of areas or key focus areas would they be speaking to?
Yes, we are expecting the participation of the Honorable Minister of Minerals and Energy, not to just give a keynote address, but we have introduced what you call a fireside conversation, in where the minister is going to be discussing a research agenda, mindset change, and value chain development in the mining industry. And this particular fireside conversation is going to be chaired or moderated by the Managing Director of Diamond Trading Company, Botswana, Mr. Sidireng Rumola. And then we're also going to have presentation from Kwemakau CEO, Johan Ferreira. We're going to have presentations from Depswana. We're going to have presentations and high-level panel discussions from the CEO of Morupulo Coal Mine, the Managing Director of Lucara Botswana, Ms. Nasim. So to understand these challenges, you know that some of this, like I mentioned earlier, the mines are going underground, they're investing a lot of money. So we want to understand, and also from a value chain perspective, we want to understand what are the opportunities for Botswana to make sure that this money is not invested in here and is benefited by people from outside. And then we're also going to have a very key sort of presentation from the CEO of Minerals Development Company, Botswana, Mr. This is a very key company in which government intends to diversify our mining portfolio so that we are not just based on diamonds, so that we can explore the critical minerals, can explore the base metals. So he's going to present about this, and also about their target in terms of what they intend to be a 1 billion company by 2038. So it will be a very exciting summit of various opportunities at all levels.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned mentioned the setup of the KP Secretariat here in Botswana as one of those things that sort of said to you we ought to do this. Of course, we can't forget the G7 pronouncement in terms of what ought to happen with property that belongs to us.
Yes.
I don't know from the project magazine perspective, and of course some of the key stakeholders here, what some of these developments, when we talk of the future of mining, what some of these developments mean, and as we go into this summit, what sort of opportunities are we creating to make sure that those conversations continue, but even when they end, particularly the G7, benefits us as a country and as citizens? Yes,
you remember that I was here last year to discuss the G7 issue with Gauteng, and we are saying as a country we are sort of like a benchmark in terms of mining our diamonds properly, ethically, making our diamonds are very clean, nowhere near blood diamonds or anything of that sort. So we still hold a very strong position that we are competent enough to overlook the process of trade of our diamonds. So we have no worry whatsoever in terms of KP, and our leaders, they will continue to engage the G7 countries, and the hosting of KP here is testament that as a country we are a global benchmark in terms of this. So we are going to have a presentation from the managing director of Okavango Diamond Company. You know that this is a very critical company in terms of how we going as a country after signing a deal with DPS in terms of participating more in the value chain. So there we are going to discuss these various issues to make sure that we stay above the game amidst all this global political tension. You remember that G7 is a result of war in Russia and all this. So that's why we have a summit like this, so that we can discuss and show the world that we are the best when it comes to handling this resource. Okay, now
once again, this summit is coming on the 13th and 14th of June.
Yes. 12th and 13th
of June.
Yes.
All entities are welcome to come, but how do I participate?
Yes.
As Homozo PTY Limited, how do I participate in this to learn about the challenges and opportunities, particularly take advantage or as far as value chain development is concerned?
Yes, we have set up a very, reasonable participation frameworks, to starting from SMME, then standard, and then corporate, to understand that though this is a paid summit, it's not everyone who is going to afford a huge sum amount of money. It's not everyone who is working for Dapswana, who is working for key mining companies, that they'll be able to pay tickets for them. So if you go into our website, the Future of Mining Summit, there are those various packages that are very reasonable and affordable for different Botswana to attend.
Are we going to have mining entities and other entities other than those that you've partnered with come to participate at the summit? Usually we find that on the sidelines of a summit there will be closed sessions, there will be exhibitions. Is that the sort of field that we are going for, and are we going to have other mining entities from outside Botswana come through?
We are expecting over 400 delegates and participants, and in terms of international participants, we are expecting the participation from Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. You know that recently they funded the development of Kanya Manganese project. We are also expecting the participation of the South African Equipment Manufacturing Association, who are going to come with a vast number of their members. And during the session, we're going to have plenary sessions, B2B, where they people have an opportunity to set up meetings and close deals. And we're expecting around between 50 and 60 exhibiting companies. So we're going to have stalls. And in that, we have packaged for SMMEs, standard and corporate. And it's open to every mining company, every stakeholder in the mining industry, not necessarily a mining company, even those who are finance, who are providing services, etc.
What would then success look like for you?
Success for us would look like having achieved fundamental objectives. Also, this is not just going to be talk shop like people always say, meet and then we're going to have reflections, takeaways, and the recommendations and outcomes of the summit. And that's why we brought the Minister of Minerals into this. They're going to be chairing that particular session where we intend to find, to have a white paper that has put down in black and white the frameworks of our ESGs, what are the opportunities in the mining value chain, to define those, publish those, and inform Botswana about how they can take part in this lucrative industry.
It's interesting that you talk about ESGs because many organizations globally have moved to a point where financial reporting and there's reporting on ESGs. Yes. I'm curious to find out where our mining entities are as far as ESG reporting is concerned in this country.
No, our mining entities are doing very good. We have brought in the focus area because also, like I was saying, it's forever evolving and changing. Also, if you talk of financial report, it's very important in raising funds to be able to fund this high capital intensive project. So we must keep it in the conversations, renew it, and make sure that we stay above the game. But generally, we are very good as a country. We are compliant to our environmental requirements and regulatory, and that's why we need to continue to show countries that we are best when it comes to this.
In 20 seconds, why must I attend?
You must attend the Future of Mining Summit so that you can stay above the curve, learn about new opportunities, and do business with the mining industry.
Okay, thank you so much for having this conversation with us. That was our discussion with the project manager for the Future of Mining Summit, coming from the Projects magazine. And Stanbugeng, of course, the summit is supported and organized in partnership with Botswana Chamber of Mines and the government of Botswana. We are speaking to Rearabilwe Ramaphane. Tautona Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi o tsweletse ka go kopana le babeeletsi ba Amerika ka maiteko a go ba ngokela mono. Motho sa Tautona Res Lamba Tsogwane o kwa Kenya go tsena phuthego e buisanang ka seemo sa mmu wa kgaolo le tiriso ya menontsane. Mo go tsa metshameko setlhopha sa bathumi ba mono gae ba baneng ba ile kgaisanong kwa Angola ba re ba tlhokana le go dira go menagane go ka kgaisana le bathumi ba mafatshe a mangwe. Wa tsho dikgantse le tse di modala tela kgantele ka nako ya bosupa.
We are once more gathered here with a clear vision and clear purpose, looking forward to greater things. We are gathered here